Welcome to the Dragon's Nest, home of the casual Dragon Ball Super card game players. This is a place where you can actually use cards you pull from packs or you can get from trading with your friends. Here at the Dragon's Nest, we try to focus on more casual decks that are fun to play are way better than just hyper meta decks. This doesn't mean we won't be showcasing any meta decks. We plan to bring you a variety of decks ranging from all parts of the spectrum, from decks you can introduce people to the game with, or to decks you can end up taking to your local event on the weekend. We're only going to be breaking these decks down by price because it's going to be a nice easy way to set them into playlists for you guys. So moving forward, we're going to be putting decks into one of these 4 categories. Now first up, we have the Dragon's Gems, at decks that are over $1,000. And underneath that, we're going to have the Dragon's Gold. Now these are decks that are going to be in the $500 to $1,000 range. And then next they're going to be the Dragon Silver, which are decks in the $500 to $200 range. And last but certainly not least, we have the Dragon's Bronze, which are decks that are going to be under $200. By no means does that mean these decks are weak in any way. Now the links for everything will be found in the description of this video. So now we have another deck that falls in the Dragon's Bronze category. This deck will run you just under $70 at $66.65. So this was a deck I had put together a while ago. I just updated it with some of the newer cards. Now let's jump into the deck tech. I'm not going to go over how many cards are in the deck. There's going to be Dragon Ball in the upper left hand corner that's going to represent how many cards are in there. I'm also not going to go over the price of every card because the price can be found below the Dragon Ball and that's the price found on DBS-Decks at the time of recording this video. So time to get into it. Time for the main deck. So for the leader card in the deck today we have Super 17 Evil Entwined. Here we are looking at the leader front Super 17. Its auto ability is Burst 2. When this card attacks you get to draw a card. Its awakened ability is when you have 4 or less life you can choose 2 of your energy, switch them to active mode and flip this card over. The leader front has 10,000 power. Here we are looking at the awakened side Super 17 Evil Entwined. Its auto ability is Sparking 5. When this card attacks, draw a card and it gains critical for the duration of the turn. Its activate main ability is, if your opponent has 10 or more cards in their hand, your opponent places cards from their hand in the drop area until they have 9 cards total. Now the awakened side has 15,000 power. So for the first card in the deck today we have Android 17 Impending Crisis. For 1 green and 0 for 5,000 combo power. This card has 4,000 power. Counter attack, negate the attack and play this card from hand. So if your leader card is Android, when you play this card, you can choose one of your battle cards with an energy cost of 4 or less that has Android in the name from your deck and put it in the drop area. Next up we have Cell Genetic Consumption. For 1 green and 0 for 5,000 combo power. This card has 5,000 power. This card is Union Absorb. Choose one Android 17 card in your drop area and place it underneath this card. You can choose up to 1 green or yellow multicolor Cell card with an energy cost of 4 in your hand or deck and play it. Now that card comes on top of this card in active mode. And now we're going to take a look at Cell Perfection Misspent. 8 for 2 green and 2 yellow and 1 for 10,000 combo power. This card has 20,000 power. This card also has energy exhaust. So when you play this card, you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. Its second auto ability is, choose one Android 18 underneath this card and place it in the owner's drop area. So when you negate one of your opponent's attacks, you can choose 1 green or yellow multicolor Cell card with an energy cost of 4 underneath this card and play it. And you place this card in the owner's drop area. Next up, Cell Perfection Reclaimed. 4 with 1 green and 1 yellow and 1 for 10,000 combo power. This card is 15,000 power. This card is Union Absorb for 1 green. Choose one Android 18 card in your drop area and place it underneath this card. Choose one Cell with an energy cost of 8 from your deck or hand and play it on top of this card in active mode. This card has energy exhaust also. If you have 4 or more energy when this card is placed in the drop area from a battle by a skill, you can choose one Cell card with an energy cost of 8 in your drop area and play it. Next up we're going to take a look at Cell Revolting Regenitor. 9 with 2 green and 0 for 5,000 combo power. This card is 25,000 power. So when an Android card with an energy cost of 7 or more other than Cell Revolting Regenerator is removed from the battle area by an opponent's skill, you can end up playing this card from hand, and then you cannot play another Cell Revolting Regenerator for the duration of the turn. But when you play this card, you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 5 or less and KO it. Now we're going to take a look at Dr. Giro, Progenitor of Terror. 2 with 1 green and 1 yellow and 0 for 10,000 combo power. This card has 10,000 power. This card is super combo and energy exhaust. So if your leader card is green or yellow, when you combo with this card from hand, you can choose one of your green or yellow battle cards with an energy cost of 4 or less from your deck and play it in the drop area. Next up, Dreadful Duo Android 17. 3 with 2 green and 0 for 5,000 combo power. This card has 15,000 power. This card also has critical. Its activate main ability costs 1 green. So during your turn, if an opponent's battle card with an energy cost of 3 or less has been placed in the drop area, you can choose one Android 18 with an energy cost of 3 or less from your hand to play it. Next up we're going to look at Dreadful Duo Android 18. 3 with 2 green and 0 for 5,000 combo power. This card has 15,000 power. This card also is critical. Its activate main ability costs 1 green. If an opponent's battle card with an energy cost of 4 or more has been placed in the drop area by one of your skills, you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 3 or less and KO it. Here we have Evolving Evil Lifeform Cell. 5 with 2 green and 1 for 10,000 combo power. This card has 20,000 power. This card is Union Absorb. Place one Android 18 from your hand underneath this card and choose one Cell from your deck and play it on top of this card. This card is Double Strike. When you play this card with Union, you get to draw a card and choose one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. Here we have Hellfighter 17 Evil Revived. 3 with 2 green and 0 for 5000 combo power. This card has 15,000 power. This card also has Barrier. Its Union Absorb is place one Android 17 from your hand or drop area underneath this card. And if you do, you can choose one Super 17 with an energy cost of 4 or less from your deck or drop area and play it on top of this card. Here we have Perfect Force Cell, 7 with 2 green and 1 for 10,000 combo power. This card has 30,000 power. This card is evolved for 2 green and 4 any over any cell. This card also has Double Strike, but when you play this card, if your leader card is Android, your opponent must choose all their cards in their hand till they have 3 remaining and put them in the drop area. Here we have Preemptive Strike for 2 green. Counterplay, if your leader card is green, the battle card your opponent is playing has an energy cost of 4 or less, you can play it in the owner's drop area instead. And now we have Shocking Death Ball for 1 green. Counterattack, if your leader card is green, negate the attack and choose one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 2 or less and KO it. You can activate this card's counter ability if you have 5 or more cards in the drop area by paying a life instead of paying its energy cost. Next up we have Stout-Hearted Android 16, 2 with 2 green and 0 for 0 combo power. This card has 12,000 power. This card is super combo. So when you combo with this card, if your leader card is a green Android and your life is at 4 or less, your opponent must choose one card from their hand and place it in the drop area, and then this card gains 10,000 combo power. Here we have Super 17 Cell Absorbed, 6 with 4 green and 1 for 10,000 combo power. This card has 20,000 power. This card is critical, dual attack, and deflect. Its auto ability is Sparking 10. When this card attacks, if your leader card is a green Android card, your opponent must choose 2 cards from their hand and place in the drop area. Here we have Super 17 Hellstorm Unleashed, 9 with 3 green and 2 yellow and 1 for 10,000 combo power. This card has 30,000 power. This card is critical and energy exhaust. This card also has Successor for 2 green and 1 yellow. When you play this card, you can choose cards in your opponent's life and put them in the drop area until they have 4 life total. When this card attacks, you get to draw a card and choose up to 2 of your opponent's cards and switch into rest mode. Now we're going to take a look at Super 17 the Infernal Machine, 4 with 3 green and 0 for 5000 combo power. This card has 20,000 power. This card is Double Strike. Its permanent ability is, this card's attack cannot be negated. And when you play this card, you can choose 2 cards in your hand and put them in the drop area. And if you do, your opponent has to choose 2 cards in their hand and place them in the drop area. Next up, here we have Super 17 to Further Heights, 4 with 2 green and 0 for 5000 combo power. This card has 20,000 power. This card is Barrier and Deflect. When you play this card, choose one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. This card is Union Absorb for 2 green and 2 any. Choose one cell in your hand or drop area and place underneath this card. Choose one Super 17 with an energy cost of 6 from your deck or drop area and play it on top of this card. And for the last card in the deck today, we have Super 17 Total Eclipse, 6 with 2 green and 1 yellow and 1 for 10,000 combo power. This card has 20,000 power. This card is Barrier and Energy Exhaust. This card also has Successor for 1 green and 1 yellow. If your leader card is an Android card, when this card attacks or is placed in the drop area, you get to draw a card and choose one of your opponent's battle cards and switch it to rest mode. And here we have the side deck. And now we have the price breakdown from DBS-Decks. So the engine may be a little bit older in this deck, but with some of the new green-yellow cell stuff, I think it's pretty strong. The main goal is to move through the Super 17 chain, but there's a lot of other good options also in the deck. First up, we're just going to go through the Super 17 chain. It all starts with the 3-drop Hellfighter, and that gives you access to 2 cards moving forward. The first card being Super 17 to Further Heights. That card lets you move through the rest of the chain, but if you end up finding yourself in the position to close out the match, you can end up going into the Super 17 the Infernal Machine, as his attacks cannot be negated. So if you end up deciding to go further on through the chain, you can end up choosing one of 2 cards to go on with, either Super 17 Cell Absorbed or the Super 17 Total Eclipse. Now we're going to take a look at the side cell chains that accompany the Super 17 deck so well. The first one's from the new starter deck. It allows you to start with the 1-drop Genetic Consumption that ends up getting out the Perfection Reclaimed. Now this card in itself is just pretty nutty. But then after you finally get all that done and said with, you end up going into the Perfection Misspent. Now the second cell chain is the older cell chain. It starts off with the Evolving Lifeform cell that ends up letting you get out the big bad boy Perfect Force. I just want to take a second to say thanks to the local gang for letting me show off their decks. Without these decks, it'd pretty much just be me rattling off nonsense and crappy decks all the time. I hope you enjoyed this decklist video, and I would love to hear if you end up trying it in the comments. Whether you play this game at home at the kitchen table, or end up going to your LGS for a weekend event. All links for everything will be found in the description of this video. Now if you can do me a solid and don't forget to like, rate, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell so you can be notified when the Dragon's Nest have uploaded another video. From all of us here at the Dragon's Nest, thanks for watching, and we hope you tune in to future videos. And as we say up here in the Great White North, have a good one and keep her going, eh?